Welcome everyone to today's webinar. It's introduction to the PI8000, and this is the first in our webinar series for the PI8000. So please stay tuned for further webinars coming up in the future. Doing this webinar today, you've got myself, and I'm joined by David Corbett, product manager for the product. So feel free to say hello, Dave.
Morning all, Dave Corbett here from Switzerland.
And yeah, so what we'll do today is we'll have a quick introduction from myself, followed by a product overview and software overview from Dave. We will then go through the offer package and we'll have a Q&A session as well. So without further ado, I shall get it started. So more than 100,000 kilometres of piles are installed in Europe every year. And if we want to replace or repair a faulty pile at the time of installation, it's typically a fairly low cost or reasonable cost, 750 to 1,000 euros. If this isn't detected at the time of installation, then this can be potentially exponentially more expensive. So we have a picture here of probably the most famous case of dodgy foundations. But in reality, the €1 million figure is taken from a Hard Rock cafe in America. So it is potentially extremely expensive if you have a potential collapse or a partial collapse and need to replace and repair the whole building afterwards. So typically, there's 3 types of definitive pile tests that can be done, and they're quite expensive. So you have a static load test, a dynamic load test where you put the piles under a cyclical load, or you have cross-hole sonic logging, which requires it sort of pre-installation of tubes at the time of installing the piles. So, and perhaps you only do a couple of piles during a whole site. So it's all of them are potentially very expensive, and also potentially not getting full coverage of the site as well. So today we're introducing a product to deal with the low strain pile integrity testing because it's fast and inexpensive, and means you can cover the whole site. And if your surface preparation's fairly good, then it's not a stretch to say that you could rapidly identify major defects in potentially over 100 piles in a single day. So that's a brief overview of the market and where the product fits into it. And so I'd like to pass over to you, Dave, for the product overview and software overview.
Okay, so this is the Pundit PI8000. It's a unit designed for one sensor with 2 applications: pile integrity testing and the impact echo test. And the impact echo test will be available later this year. It's scheduled for August, and that will make the product complete. Okay. The sensor itself, you can see it's quite small and compact. It has a single button on the top for on-off button. It's also used to arm and disarm the sensor, so you don't need to disconnect if you're moving from one location to another. You can simply disarm it and then arm it again when you're ready to start the test. Connector for a wrist strap. It's an IP67 protected device, and on the top you can see there's 3 rubber flaps, and they basically cover the battery. It's a single AA battery, which gives you several days autonomy. It has a USB-C connector for firmware upgrades, charging the battery, etc. And it has a Bluetooth dongle, so connectivity to the app is via Bluetooth. And you can see on the underside, we have the sensor contact with a certain surface clearance. This is more important for impact echo testing. For pile integrity testing, you connect to the top of the pile using a coupling putty normally. Okay. The major focus on the Pundit PI8000 has been to optimize the user experience, so optimize the data acquisition, reduce the amount of time you need for data acquisition, increase productivity, allowing collaboration off-site, everything we could do to speed up the method and to allow for a rapid assessment. Okay. There's certain types of defects that you can detect with the low strain pile integrity test. Tristan mentioned the more extensive pile testing applications earlier. The low strain pile integrity test can identify major defects. So you basically should be able to determine if it's a good pile. You know, can I get an echo from the bottom of the pile? Is the pile the specified length? This should also be possible to detect. Or has it got a major defect, like a large crack in it, a place where the diameter of the pile goes narrower? This is called necking. Or where you have an increase in diameter, and this is called bulging. So you can see it's more like a screening test for pile testing. Okay. The test procedure itself is very simple. You just simply tap on top of the pile and you get an echo like this, where you have one echo for the impact at the top of the pile. Can you just press next, Tristan? Okay, when we have a defect, we get an echo at when we get a defect, you'll see you get an echo long before the expected pile length. So this is how we detect defects in this test. Okay. As far as interpretation is concerned, you can see here the length of the pile corresponds to the place between the top echo and the bottom echo. So this identifies the head and the toe of the pile. And you can see the distance, the length of the pile is illustrated at the top, in this case 12.04 meters. Okay. Certain things we can tell from the echoes, so basic interpretation. If I have the end of the pile is free, so not touching the bedrock, we expect to get an echo which is in the same direction as the impact echo. Okay. So there you see it. When the toe of the pile, so the end of the pile, actually reaches down as far as the bedrock, then you get an echo in the opposite direction to the impact. So you can distinguish between these two cases. Okay. If we have a short pile or indeed a major crack, sort of a certain length down the pile, you'll see this type of thing where we have the echo is not at the expected length. The expected length is indicated by the dotted line at the back there. And we get the echo here already at 9.2 meters in this case. Okay. Where we have a narrowing of the pile, so necking, this is what we get, where you get an echo at wherever on the length of the pile it takes place, and it's in the same direction as the impact echo. So in this case, we have a positive impact echo and we get a positive echo where the necking takes place. We also get an echo from the end of the pile. Okay. When it comes to bulging, this is the opposite case. So we have an increase in diameter, and in this case, we get an echo in the opposite direction to the impact. So this is how we can differentiate between necking and bulging. Okay. So now we'll come to a brief software overview. I'll try and share my, sorry. Okay, so this is actually what the software, the application looks like, and you can download this application from the App Store without purchasing the device if you want to try it out. So we can tap on the data file and we can have a look at some typical pile signals. So this is actually what we get when we have a good pile. You can see the expected length is indicated by this gray grey line at the far side. This is an input you have to give. The input we have to provide is actually very simple. It's basically the expected pile length. In this case, it was a 10-meter pile. I can add any comments here, photographs of the top of the pile. We have various positions because we can put multiple positions on top of the pile. I'll say a little bit more about that later. The other thing that we have to enter is actually an assumed velocity. Normally in pile integrity testing, you're working with an assumed velocity. If we actually have a precast pile where the length of the pile is known precisely, we can actually use this calibrate feature on the right hand side, you see there, to actually match the velocity to the actual length of the pile. So here you can see I have an average signal, which is the yellow line, and then each individual impact, in this case I have 5, we can highlight separately. You can see in this case we have a higher impact. If I tap and hold on each impact, I can decide whether I want to include this or exclude it from the average, or even delete it. This allows us actually to do the impact testing as quickly as we like. Normally you do between 5 and 10 impacts and make an average, but if you have some spurious impacts, it's very easy to either include or exclude them. So I can flick between these different positions. I see on if I look at this position here, this shows actually with the position of the sensor. So that's actually very easy to see where I've done this. If I look, I can look at one here. This is now one with a 10-meter pile with a crack at 7 meters. So you see here the expected length again is indicated by the grey line with the diamond at the top, but I have a major defect at 7 meters here. The echo is in the same direction as the impact. This is what we expect this to be a crack. So that's again how we can do this. If I wish to mark the position of this, we can set a cursor here and add a marker. This is typical across all ProSec apps. Where you can see this exclamation mark on the right hand side, that's actually a pile status that I can assign. So pending means I haven't done the assessment. Okay, it's a good pile. Or I can highlight it that there's a warning, we think there's a defect in this pile. This makes actually reporting very simple. And when it comes to reporting, I have the share button here. I can actually then basically I can save the waveform, see this in the logbook. I can export raw data if I wish. I can share via URL, so I can share it with colleagues. And we'll say more about this. Tristan will tell you more about this a little bit later when we come to the new workspace functionality. One other feature we have, here, just zoom into this one. This is actually a compare mode here. I have actually 2 piles here. I can have as many piles of the same type, they're all in the same file, and then I can compare each one of them. And you can see here, I actually have 2 signals. If I had some major defect here, then it would be very easy to see if there were any outliers. I can also look at various positions on these piles. So pile 1, you can see actually has multiple positions. Okay. And how that's done, I'll just go back to the measurement screen, sorry. Can't take anyone. If I look on pile A here, you can see here I have 1 position, but if I want to handle large diameter piles, we can simply add another position to it. And basically, I can drag this to wherever I'm doing the test. So it's very easy to handle large diameter piles where you need to have more than 1 impact position. So those briefly then are the major functions. Very simple to use, very easy to enter all the data you need, and very easy to operate. Okay. So I shall stop that now. Okay.
Lovely. Thanks then, Dave.
Yeah.
Well, what we'll do is a brief summary of that, and we'll go over some of the sharing options now. and then into the offer package. So as Dave just mentioned, the large diameter piles are really easy to do with the multiple positions here that we can just drag and drop into place. We've got full control over our waveform processing. So Dave showed you some of the marking defects, but we've got auto gain, auto toe detection, full control of the filters, and all of the settings applied to the piles. We have something called compare mode, which is unique to the product. This allows you to compare all the piles at the same site and quickly identify any outliers. And data collection is very simple. You can add all of the pile info very easily, and then we've got impact monitoring included. We can exclude and include impacts, as Dave showed you. And then we've got the raw data and the velocity FFT views, which are more for the impact echo in the future, but still available at the moment. So a brief summary of everything then. We have two applications in one device. So the impact echo and the pile integrity. This represents really a huge cost saving. Meaning you've also got reduced inventory out on site, so less chance of breakages, which really maximizes your flexibility when testing as well. On the workflow optimization side, we've got the simplified entry of measurement location, and also the app allows you to take pictures and has geolocation in it. Your faster completion of field work, and critically less errors and less returning to site, which again we'll kind of highlight again further how we do that. So the software itself really does allow you to get the big picture on site. You can collaborate with off-site colleagues using the app and the sharing functions. Got rapid recording of all the site parameters. It's speedy and comprehensive reporting, and of course the subscription and constant updates to the product gives you a future-proof and long-lasting investment. And lastly then, on the probe itself, it's versatile and very comfortable to use. It's completely wireless. It's totally operational by one user. And as Dave mentioned in the sensor part, you've got a couple of days of autonomy on the 1AA battery there, and again that's incredibly easy to replace should you require to. I mean, all of this leaves you with great value for money. You've got a lot of time being saved, peace of mind, and the joy and prestige of owning a quality Swiss-made device from a company that's been around 70 years and continues to improve and evolve. And as you'd expect from a device from us, it is included with all the standards, and that's for impact echo and pile integrity as well there. So now we'll talk a little bit about the reporting, and Dave mentioned that you can export all of this stuff from the app using the little share button that you can see on screen there. That gives you the waveforms, the photos, the markers that you've added, any comments that you've made, your GPS position, and the ability to export raw data. But above and beyond that, we have something called Workspace now, which as you can see is the space between all of our live connected apps. And what this really means is that with one click and log on to a portal, you can see all of your data and all of your applications. So all of your probes are listed in the bottom of the screen there. All of the applications go up the left-hand side, and then your data is all held in the middle. And as I say, it's just one click, and you can export this or download this directly to your PC. And this works on any browser at all. Then we have some other things in there that you'd expect to find. So all of your account details where you can change your user settings, along with any products that you might also be interested in. So on the screen there, you can see Inspect 2.0 and the capture feature there. So if there's anything else that we have that you might be interested in, we should populate that field there. And this really goes back to what we were discussing earlier with regard to the collaboration side of things. It means that you can quickly upload this data. Someone can log on in the office and have a look at something and report back to whoever's doing the test on site. Meaning that you can share all the data within your team in minutes, and it really does prevent the need to go back on site if something should go wrong, or if perhaps some readings weren't as you would want as the analyst. So now we'll go briefly through the offer package. It's quite simple. It's 750 francs for the device, and that comes with all of the pile integrity equipment required and all of the impact echo equipment required. All of that comes bundled together, and that's a one-time payment. Then we have the software subscription. This is 1,200 per year, Swiss francs, and we ask you for a 2-year commitment to that. And then lastly, and free of charge, is the workspace that we've discussed now. So all of that data sharing functionality is completely free of charge. And if any of you have devices at the moment made by us, live connected devices, then you can log in using the same login as your current device login, basically. So it's an extremely versatile product with 2 applications in one device. Got great productivity with the ruggedized probe, the optimized workflows, the simplified and data entry that we've looked at with Dave, and the comparison mode. And then on the clarity side of things at the back end, we've got the status tagging, the multiple reporting formats, along with integration to Workspace, allowing you that instant collaboration. So I'll just leave this one up for a couple of moments there, so you can take down details should you require them. But essentially here we have the 3 regional specialists for this product. So over in the Americas, you have a gentleman called Paul Sywick. In Asia, we have Logesh Raj, based out in Singapore. And then for Europe, Russia, Africa, and Middle East, it would be myself. So if you have any specific commercial questions regarding your particular market, or you would like a quotation, please feel free to get in contact with one of the gentlemen on screen. And with that, we'll bring this presentation to a close, and we'll move into a Q&A session. But it's good to just remember the company motto there, to protect the built world, and it's something we take quite seriously, and we hope that you would help us on this mission.